Ever wondered how a simple ride home from a Rangers versus Aberdeen game could spiral into a high-speed chase on the motorway, ending in a scene straight out of a crime thriller? It was a crime thriller, yet one where the victim was saved, and out of sheer luck, i.e. being near a hospital with a top-class surgeon on duty that fateful night. But what happened exactly that night, and why? The answer to these questions is a story of wrath that was brought down upon Glasgow, shaking the entire country. This isn't a story of an ordinary civilian. It's the intense saga of Steven Bonzo Daniel, not just any gang leader, but the mastermind of a notorious Glasgow empire reaching far across the UK. The consequences of his actions, a ripple effect of catastrophic events shaking the core of the city's dark underworld. But the burning question remains: how did such a powerful figure fall victim to a brutal attack? What series of events transformed the once-known Bonzo Daniel into the notorious Scarface of Glasgow? Today, we dive deep into the hidden alleys of the Scottish underworld, peeling layer after layer to decode the enigma wrapped around Steven Bonzo Daniel. As we navigate through the murky waters of gang rivalries and unending cycles of violence, we are about to uncover a name that, despite desperate attempts to sever its dark ties, remains deeply rooted in the underworld, simultaneously bearing the crown of one of Scotland's wealthiest. Stay with us as we unravel the intricate web of events that led to the rise and fall of Glasgow's Scarface. Up next, we delve into Bonzo's background and the unexpected turn that brought him into the limelight. What sparked Bonzo Daniel's underworld journey? Have you ever wondered how a person quietly operating in the shadows suddenly becomes the master of an underworld empire? How did Bonzo Daniel make this dramatic leap? In Glasgow's bustling streets, while the notorious crime boss Uncle Jamie Daniel was orchestrating the city's criminal operations, Bonzo remained a figure in the shadows. Yet, in a twist of events in 2012, Bonzo's name surfaced in an unexpected setting, linked to a government-sanctioned payday loans enterprise. This revelation thrust Bonzo into the spotlight, revealing his involvement in business activities alongside his cousin, Xander Sutherland, offspring of the infamous crime boss Jamie Daniel. An exposé by the Daily Record's Sunday Mail spotlighted Bonzo and Xander actively endorsing loans at this establishment, named Key Cash. At the helm of Key Cash stood the prosperous property magnate Roy Wolfin, holder of the prestigious Office of Fair Trading license. Interestingly, Wolfin's portfolio included ownership of Key Cars, a venture where Bonzo held the position of partner. Yet, this business endeavor was fleeting. In 2013, Scottish police raided Key Cash's premises, promptly shutting it down. This police intervention marked not just the end of Bonzo's business venture, but also solidified his reputation as a figure with deep roots in both the city's legitimate and illegitimate spheres. And with that, the lid was closed on Daniel's foray into the loan sharking ventures. This incident shed light on the Daniels' close connections with influential millionaires during that period, hinting at the intricate web of alliances within Glasgow's criminal landscape. Steven's connections extended to Key Cars, a cab hire firm based in Glasgow. In 2014, his name appeared again, marking a notable shift in his public presence within the city's underworld. Reports surfaced of his association with taxi tycoon Stevie Malcolm, hinting at potentially scandalous connections that would later be revealed in this video. His involvement with Stevie Malcolm not only ignited rumors, but also positioned Bonzo within a network of power and scrutiny, with each move closely monitored by the police. But before we delve into those details, let's pivot to 2015, a tumultuous year for Steven. During this time, he found himself entangled in a bizarre incident involving his cab service, Key Cars. A passenger hijacked one of his cabs in Maryhill, demanding a free £10 journey. Refusing to comply with the demand, the driver faced a menacing threat as the passenger brandished a knife, coercing the driver to vacate the vehicle. This wasn't an isolated incident. A similar scenario unfolded just a year prior when another Key Cars cab was stolen and subsequently set ablaze after the driver declined to provide a complimentary ride. Fast forward to this recent incident. The audacious passenger demanded a hefty sum of £200 for the return of the cab, citing alleged instances of free rides previously provided by Steven. Fearful of the potential consequences and unwilling to risk another car being destroyed, Steven acquiesced and paid the ransom within a mere 24 hours. It's truly perplexing that a member of the powerful Daniel clan, known for their ironclad grip on the city's underworld, had to resort to such desperate measures, raising poignant questions about the vulnerability of the cab firm under his name. However, 2015 also brought attention to Steven in another scandal, this time a criminal one. He was the suspect in an investigation into heroin dealing by the Scottish police. The investigation involved 9 suspects. Most of these suspects were members of the Daniel clan, including Jamie's son Xander Sutherland and Steven Daniel. However, only Sutherland was convicted and sentenced to 13.5 years, while the remaining 8 walked free. He had pleaded guilty at the Glasgow High Court and prevented the trial. The case involved 25 charges and 270 witnesses. It is widely believed that Sutherland took the fall to prevent his family's dirty laundry being aired in court, something that Jerry McLean, the then head of Police Scotland's Organised Crime and Counter-Terrorism Unit, agreed with. Police were resentful over the acquittals, but the Crown Office was satisfied with the progress, stating that they had taken out Al Capone. They had no idea that another formidable figure would soon ascend to take his place in Glasgow's underworld hierarchy. Further into the investigation, it was compelling to find millionaire property tycoon Roy Wolfen implicated in the narcotics probe. Despite his inclusion, Wolfen, along with 7 other suspects, was eventually cleared of any charges. This connection raised eyebrows, hinting at the intricate web of associations within Glasgow's underworld. Similarly dubious was Steven's connection with taxi mogul Stevie Malcolm, also referred to as the Fat Controller. As mentioned earlier, they were spotted together in 2014. However, the plot thickened in July 2017, when Steven had risen to the position of crime kingpin. Reports surfaced of Malcolm purchasing key cars, further fueling speculation about their association. However, Malcolm swiftly distanced himself from any ties with Steven, citing concerns about potential repercussions on his taxi contracts, particularly those involving schools and the elderly. Despite his relentless attempts to downplay the connection, reports of the taxi firm deal remained undisputed. This maneuver by Malcolm showcased the delicate balance between business and criminality in Glasgow, where even rumors of associations with figures like Bonzo could have serious implications. Interestingly, key cars had changed hands multiple times before Malcolm's acquisition, having been purchased from Scott Thompson, a close associate and partner of Steven. Who was involved in a business prior to my purchase is not a reason for any link to be made to me nor my business, emphasized the taxi tycoon, seeking to deflect any insinuations of wrongdoing. However, despite his assertions, evidence pointed towards a closer relationship between Malcolm and Steven, contradicting his attempts to conceal their association. The events surrounding the attack on Steven, which I'll delve into shortly, further fueled speculation about the depth of their connection. Notably, on the evening of the attack, Steven had enjoyed the Rangers game from Malcolm's hospitality suite in Ibrox. Such VIP treatment from a millionaire raises questions, prompting speculation about the nature of their relationship. Adding to the intrigue, Steven had even chauffeured Malcolm to the game. Despite mounting evidence suggesting a personal relationship, Malcolm maintained to media watchdog the Independent Press Standards Organization, IPSO, that he did not know Steven in a personal capacity. Returning to Steven's life, his name faded from the headlines until tragedy struck the Daniel clan, thrusting him into the spotlight once again. This tragic event would mark the beginning of the most harrowing experience of Steven's life, leaving him scarred for life. Up to this point, you may have observed that Steven didn't possess the typical criminal record associated with gang kingpins, particularly when leading one of the city's most powerful factions. So, how did Bonzo ascend the ranks of the underworld to claim leadership? And how did he transform from a mere clan member into Glasgow's Scarface? Join me as I delve deeper into this intense yet chilling saga to unveil the truth. How did Bonzo become Scarface? A shocking transition. Can a peaceful May evening in Glasgow, charged with post-football match excitement, turn into a night of horror? On May 18, 2017, Steven Daniel, a known figure in the city's underworld, was about to find out. Little did he know, the streets he knew like the back of his hand would soon become the stage for a life-changing ordeal. As fans spilled out of Ibrox Stadium, celebrating the clash between Rangers and Aberdeen, Steven completed his errands, oblivious to the drastic turn his life was about to take. His routine journey home was shattered when he realized he was being tailed, not by fans, but by ominous shadows in an Audi S3 and VW Golf. What started as a sense of unease quickly escalated into a high-stakes chase on the motorway, with Steven's survival instincts kicking into high gear. However, his attempts proved futile as he was eventually cornered near the M8 at Port Dundas. In a horrifying turn of events, the occupants of the Audi unleashed a vicious assault, wielding tools like machetes, knives, and cleavers to inflict devastating wounds upon Steven's face. Amid the high-speed chase, Steven managed to alert his associates, prompting an immediate and swift response to his precarious situation. They transported him to the nearby hospital, where, by a stroke of luck, a top-class surgeon happened to be on duty that fateful night. Steven's injuries were harrowing, so severe that the attending doctor, upon first glance, mistook the brutal lacerations for gunshot wounds, a testament to the extreme violence of the assault. Steven's harrowing ordeal on that fateful night served as a stark reminder of the perilous world he inhabited, where danger lurks around every corner and violence can erupt without warning. In the attack's immediate aftermath, the assailants hastily disposed of the Audi, setting it ablaze in a futile attempt to destroy incriminating evidence. Despite their efforts, detectives made a chilling discovery: a forgotten machete in the back seat, a grim testament linking the attackers to the crime. Questions loomed about the mastermind behind such a callous attack. As suspicion pointed towards the rival gang, a whispered conversation in the sterile silence of the hospital room confirmed the fears. Steven's associate leaned in, whispering, "This was no random act, Steven. This has Lyons written all over it." Steven's eyes, swollen and heavy, acknowledged the truth he already knew. In the ruthless world of gangland rivalry, such deadly repercussions were a grim reality for both sides. This attack was just one terrifying episode in a long-standing turf war that had plagued Glasgow for over 2 decades. It had turned the city into a battleground where violence and bloodshed were rampant. It was the saga of Daniels versus Lyons that echoed the complexities and conflicts of a long-standing rivalry. Yet, if the attack itself was shocking, what was unearthed next would send shivers down your spine. Detectives stumbled upon a series of callous WhatsApp messages exchanged by the perpetrators in the wake of the attempted murder. The messages, stark and unsettling, exposed the harsh reality of criminal rivalries. "You happy the day then, mate?" read one message, met as a response, "Love it, mate, heard he can't see," accompanied by a mocking, laughing face emoji. This exchange highlighted the grim reality of a life enmeshed in the criminal world, a world far removed from law and order, dominated by its own harsh rules. These cold texts were not mere words. They were reflections of the soulless abyss of the underworld, a place devoid of empathy where power is the ultimate and only recognized currency. Despite the constant threat to his life, Steven Daniel refused to cower in fear. His home was placed under round-the-clock police guard, with a patrol car stationed outside his Milton residence at all times. It's worth noting that Steven had been warned multiple times about the looming danger to his life, prompting him to invest in protective measures. He acquired an armored black pickup truck, a substantial investment aimed at fortifying his safety. Another precautionary measure proved to be a lifesaver. It was a Kevlar protective vest, purchased by Steven, which is believed to have shielded him from the worst of the slashing and stabbing onslaught he endured that fateful day. Notably, the attempted murder of Steven was just one of several violent incidents that occurred during that tumultuous period. Over the course of 6 months, 5 other members of his clan fell victim to brutal attacks, with the 7th being the most severe. Among those targeted were Ryan Fitzsimmons, Gary Petty, Thomas Billsland, and a 29-year-old cousin whose name remains undisclosed for legal reasons. The cousin found himself chased into a house in Rob Royston. His car was rammed and he was subjected to a vicious assault with either a machete or a hatchet in December 2016. Thomas Billsland faced a similar fate a month later in Glasgow's Cranhill, while Gary Petty was ambushed after visiting an Italian takeaway in Maryhill in March 2017. The following month, Ryan Fitzsimmons was brutally attacked outside his home, resulting in severe brain damage. However, it was the assault on Steven the primary target of the Lyons gang, that garnered the most attention. An investigation into these harrowing attacks revealed the presence of tracking devices on both Steven's car and those of the other victims. These devices, the first of their kind to be used in Scotland, caught the attention of detectives who traced them back to a firm in Manchester. Ironically, while these trackers were instrumental in carrying out the attacks, they also played a crucial role in leading the police to their perpetrators. The subsequent trial at the Glasgow High Court in January 2019 saw 6 men charged with multiple counts of attempted murder in connection with the violent assaults. In the courtroom, amidst a well-documented feud between the Lyons and Daniels gangs, Steven offered a narrative that diverged significantly from public expectation. Earlier, he had also refused to cooperate with the police in the hospital after the attack. He remained tight-lipped when questioned about the details of his assailants. Struggling with an inability to speak in the aftermath of the assault, Steven was provided with a pen and paper by the police in hopes of obtaining valuable information. However, his response, a simple scrawled on the paper, offered little assistance. This uncooperative stance persisted in court, where Steven adamantly denied any dispute with the Lyons and refuted claims of his family's involvement in organized crime. He claimed he was unable to recall any assault on him and could only remember being chased and his car colliding with a pole. However, Steven's testimony failed to sway the jury, who ultimately rejected his account. It appeared that Steven was adhering to the code of silence known as omerta, a practice commonly observed in the Italian mafia and prevalent in gangland circles. This code dictates non-cooperation with law enforcement as a display of loyalty to the group above all else. However, the repercussions of these violent attacks extended beyond the gangland itself. There was a real risk that innocent civilians could have been caught in the crossfire, a concern highlighted during the court proceedings. The trial culminated in the sentencing of Brian Ferguson, Andrew Gallagher, Robert Pickett, Andrew Sinclair, and Peter Bain. Stretching over 14 weeks, the trial incurred a staggering cost of €6 million in taxpayers' money. Collectively sentenced to 104 years behind bars, the individuals' varied reactions to their sentencing ranged from sheer indifference to outright defiance, painting a stark picture of the unyielding underworld. While some showed complete indifference to the length of their sentences, others displayed brazen defiance. Gallagher made a clenched fist gesture. Brian grinned and gave a thumbs up, while Ferguson saluted supporters within the courtroom. In the aftermath of the brutal attack, Steven's once unrecognizable face bore the grotesque marks of his ordeal. Rendered unable to speak, and reportedly only able to see from one eye, he embarked on a grueling journey to reconstruct his shattered visage. He endured 9 surgeries, some of which incurred a hefty price tag running into hundreds of thousands of pounds. But Steven was determined in his pursuit to move past the incident and find a new normal. Why were the Lyons so desperate to get to him? In the perilous world of gang wars, mere affiliation with a rival group is enough to paint a target on your back. However, for Steven, the stakes were even higher. Before his passing in 2016 from cancer, Jamie Daniel had held an iron grip on the gang, so much so that he had earned a reputation as a control freak who centralized power and rarely delegated authority to family members. Many believed that Jamie's most likely successor would be his son, Xander. However, Xander's lengthy prison sentence at the time of his father's passing rendered him unfit to lead the gang. He could have led the gang from the jail, but he didn't have the required influence to be able to do that. Besides, he lacked the charisma and cunning attributed to his father. With Jamie's brothers uninterested in perpetuating the cycle of violence that had claimed the lives of numerous family members, the question of succession remained unanswered. Jamie's brothers, weary of the relentless cycle of violence that cast a long shadow over their family, sought solace in quieter lives, far removed from the clutches of their notorious legacy. His surviving family members included daughter Kelly Bo Green, son Francis Fraggle Green, and wife Debbie Mortimer. Debbie, largely uninvolved in the underworld, was dismissed by many as lacking the influence necessary to lead the clan. Fraggle, closely associated with the late Kevin Carroll, a notorious Daniel enforcer, was similarly deemed unsuitable for leadership. Thus, Bonzo was speculated as the heir apparent to his uncle's throne. These assumptions were substantiated by the Scottish police's intelligence-led Operation Engagement, which identified Bonzo as kingpin of the Daniels clan after Jamie. Jamie's demise had undeniably created a power vacuum within the gangland, tipping the scales in favor of Daniel's deadly rival gang, the Lyons, as they sought to assert control over the lucrative narcotics and arms trade. Eliminating the opposing gang's kingpin was paramount for maintaining this newfound supremacy, placing Bonzo squarely in the crosshairs of their deadly intentions. Yet, whether he possessed the same level of prowess, acumen, and cunning as his late uncle remained a lingering question. Amidst the ongoing turmoil, the gang's focus shifted to self-preservation and revenge attacks after Jamie's death. Multiple attacks targeting clan members followed the 2017 assault. Jamie himself had undergone a notable transformation in his later years. For 20 years, he was involved in dealing narcotics and selling guns. During this time, he had an appetite for violence and an urge to make people do his bidding. However, he had shifted gears in his last years and transitioned to cigarette smuggling. The extent to which this shift benefited the Daniels operations remained shrouded in uncertainty as they grappled with settling scores and mitigating losses amidst the escalating turf wars. As alliances shifted like shadows on a stormy night, the uneasy calm that settled over Glasgow held its breath, aware that the quiet was merely the prelude to another tempest. The conflict has now spilled over into the prison system, with numerous gang members incarcerated after the police's crackdown. In a bid to evade further scrutiny and rival attacks, Steven Daniel, enigmatic as ever, cloaked his movements in secrecy, his low-profile approach a chess move in the grand game of survival. However, it appears that he hasn't abandoned the continuation of the empire. He remains a private person and keeps his activities low-key, but he has been spotted frequently with the notorious Spencer Mellors. Mellors, infamously known as Hannibal the Cannibal, was a convicted rapist and drug dealer with a chilling reputation. Sharing fandom of Rangers, both hoodlums have been seen at the games together. For many, it's a clear sign that Bonzo is up to something, and his association with Mellors shows that he has just the right ally to pull it off. As Miller and Bonzo's meetings raise speculation and cast shadows over the future of the Daniel clan, the trajectory of Glasgow's underworld remains uncertain. With ongoing turf wars and retaliatory attacks, the peace of the city hangs in the balance. The reign of Steven Daniel, in the absence of the gang maestro Jamie Daniel, remains fraught with unanswered questions. As the city grapples with its dark underbelly, the story of Steven Daniel serves as a stark reminder of the complexities and consequences of a life lived on the edge of legality.